Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine.
Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Tuine. Welcome, everybody. It's a great sunny day here in Utah. We are without Jordan Comstock today, unfortunately. Jordan is attending a funeral today, so for those of you that know him personally, a quick note to him would probably be great for today as he's dealing with that. But Jordan sends his wishes to everybody, and he'll be back on the show next week. But anyway, today we do have an excellent guest, somebody that I've been looking forward to chatting with about all things insurance. We have Theresa Narantic. We talked about that at the beginning. Theresa Narantic. Theresa, welcome to the show.
Ben, thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you. Whatever you want to call my last name. It's all fine with me. I
am so careful. I try to be so careful with how I pronounce people's names that I've never verbally said before because my name is difficult. Tuine. Anytime I call somebody new or even at the grocery store, checking in at the airport, you hear different variations of how people pronounce your name. So I apologize for butchering your name when I practice.
You know what? It isn't a problem at all. You know what? I will tell you, it's really funny. My maiden name was Flood, Flood. Major waters.
Right.
How else could you pronounce that name? But I will tell you, over the years, I've heard dozens of ways to even pronounce that. So
let me guess.
It's not a big deal at all.
Was Flood one of them?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's too funny.
No worries at all. I'm not concerned about it in the least.
Cool. Well, let's talk about you for a second here. So I understand you seem to have a following of your own. You're a dental coach and you're a speaker, and I've talked to some doctors that have been to your classes and your lectures where you talk about pretty much everything. It seems like the feedback that I got is that anything in the world of practice management and sometimes even in the clinical aspect of dentistry, you're a very, very good coach. So how did you get involved, and when did you get involved in dental?
So that is such a fun story. I was ready to graduate from high school when I was a junior, and my folks said, "Oh, you got to finish your senior year and do all the fun senior things."
So you're one of the smarties, huh?
No, back then But at any rate, I had the opportunity to work as, I wanted to go into healthcare. I knew that was my calling. I wanted to spend my career helping other people in some aspect. So I had the opportunity to work for a fabulous dentist in my hometown where he taught me about the dental industry. And now I really don't want to expose my age. I'm under 100. But this was in
well, you sound young.
In 1976 that I got my teeth into dentistry. There was no turning back. I absolutely loved the field. I loved the science of it. I loved the patient care. I loved the business aspect. So I went on, got my formal education at the University of Illinois, finished my master's degree in business. I was going to get a nursing degree and go into nursing. And I said, I didn't like the way that the healthcare arena was going, and I decided that dentistry was going to be my long-term calling. And I have to tell you that the doors that opened for me after working for the doctor that I worked for as a senior in high school just kept opening, and the path was very, very clear for me. I had some incredible mentors and incredible opportunities to be exposed to the business of dentistry for the last 35 years. So there's a lot of people that I have a tremendous amount of gratitude for exposing me and allowing me to be in the industry to the extent that I am right now, Ben.
Do you mind if I do a Jordan comment for just a second here?
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned you got involved in dentistry 1976.
Yeah.
I kid you not, Jordan's natural reaction would be, whoa, because he wasn't born then.
Yeah. So you know what? You can imagine. So the changes that have happened in that amount of time, too, in dentistry. One of the stories that I love sharing is that the second dentist that I worked for actually did, and this is 30-some years ago, he actually placed implants into a senior citizen, 4 implants on the maxillary arch and 4 on the mandibular arch without gloves on.
Wow.
I mean, that's how much dentistry has changed, right? I mean, there was no the instruments that we had at that point. So in order for him to torque the implant in, he had to have a good feel and couldn't wear gloves to do it. So there's been huge changes. One of the things that I love to say about dentistry is it used to be that dentists owned businesses. And now what I see globally in the industry is that dentistry is the business. So you're a business owner that just happens to be a dentist. So the noun and pronoun have flipped places in the sentence. You have to be a business owner to be fluent in the dental industry now.
I think it's kind of crazy because over the years you hear doctors saying you can't just put up the shingles anymore and patients just don't naturally come in. You hear that comment over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What do they mean by that? I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, I mean, talking about insurance, how much different was it then versus today?
It's so interesting. I remember vividly, and I'm from Illinois. I know that you're from the lovely state of Utah.
Yeah.
And let me just add a little commercial here. I have never met a person from Utah that I didn't absolutely love.
Thank you.
You grow some of the finest people in Utah. Some of my very best colleagues and friends come from Utah. So I don't know what happens out there, but it's wonderful.
Must be in the water.
I think it must be, man. Whatever it is, it's awesome.
What I'll say is that we're smashed between not necessarily Washington. You got Washington to the northeast, and then you have Colorado to the west. Then you have California skipping over Nevada. So I think it's just that we get a little bit of the whiff of the weed, kind of calm our nerves. But
oh man, but you guys are tremendous.
Oh, thank you.
At any rate, we're from the Chicagoland area, and we've got such an old mentality of being able to advertise or even market our industry. There's a standard that the old people that are part of the Department of Professional Regulations in Illinois, legally we can't even promote. We cannot do anything that solicits patients. So some offices do a care to share program or what have you. Where I give you $50 for sharing a friend to come in to be a new patient in my practice.
Right.
It is illegal in Illinois. We're only one of 4 states left in the nation that is illegal. So when I first started in dentistry, absolutely, your reputation was everything. The only thing that you could have to broadcast who you were, what kind of service that you rendered, was a bold listing in the yellow pages. So if you were just a regular dentist, you had an in-column listing. But if you were really somebody, you had a bold listing. Which is crazy, right? I mean, it's just crazy. And now we do everything from social media to, websites to billboards to, whatever it is that brings in those patients that we're trying to take care of.
And the other thing is so our firm handles primarily insurance stuff, credentialing, fee negotiating, advice on which plans to join, which plans to drop. Yeah. Half of our clientele are younger doctors that are just purchasing practices or coming out of school, getting ready to buy a practice. And one of the first questions they ask is, which PPO plan should I join? Yeah. And my common response to that, I ask the question back, is what you're thinking? Like, why are you thinking you need to do the PPO plans? And the perception is that's where the patients are. If you rewind 30 years ago, I don't know how it was 30 years ago, but was it much different back then in terms of PPO participation than it is today?
No, I don't think that there was as much PPO presence at that time. It was so much easier to handle that load of insurance. It was cut and dry. You have insurance, great, we'll send it in. There wasn't so much of the the exceptions, it was clean, it was clear, it was identifiable, it was understood by the patient, and a lot of people didn't have dental insurance. The wealthier people did. The people that had unions were really strong with those kinds of things. But it was so much easier to handle the whole process of insurance. I mean, even I'll go back to the pages where we actually did. There was no electronics. We folded up a piece of paper, wrote on the claim, and sent it to the insurance company with a stamped envelope. It was a lot easier, and there was so little flexibility or ambiguity in the whole processing.
It's amazing how much much has changed over the years.
It is. It is.
When do you think the whole denial game? It seems like to me, at least so I've been in dentistry just for 10 years.
Yeah, you're a puppy.
I know. I'm young. I consider myself a young gun in the industry.
Exactly.
You learn so much and you absorb so much, but it seems like we're just dealing with change after change after change when it comes to insurance. I haven't seen this year. I haven't seen as many denials, especially on scaling and root planing, perio. I haven't seen them at this alarming rate of having to appeal after appeal after appeal. When do you think this all started, and why do you think it all started on the insurance side?
So, it's really interesting. When we look at insurance, insurance is a company, and they're in the game to make money, right?
Yeah.
Look at any skyscape in any major city. We can run into Chicago, and the tallest buildings with the biggest lights are the insurance companies.
That's right.
They have stockholders. At the end of the year, their main emphasis is not you, Ben, whether you got your scaling and root planing so that you could hold your dentition for the rest of your life. Their main interest at the day's end is, where are my stockholders going to be, and how happy are they going to be with the return on their investment, and are they going to buy more stock in my company?
Yeah. That's
their interest. That's where their game is, right? They really don't care about what it is that is going to make you be a healthier individual. So I think bottom line is that's what we need to look at is, are patients making decisions based on what their insurance companies are going to allow, or are they making decisions that their care providers are telling them are in their best interest?
Right.
So there's a lot of denial going on. I can't tell you how many times, and I feel really bad for these front desk administrators that are really fighting the fight. They send in the claims, they get the denial, they do the appeal, they do the narratives, they send insurance information, their perio charting, they send radiographs, they send extra oral or photographs, and they're still being denied. There's horizontal bone loss, and these insurance companies are saying, it's not necessary. So a long time ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I saw a little bit of change in the mentality of providers where, wow, let's it's marginal. Let's send it to the insurance company, where they might, might not have needed to, or it might been, on the cusp of whether it was necessary or not. So I kind of thought at that time, maybe the insurance companies were going to become a little bit more defensive and push those down. But I have seen lots and lots of cases where the benefits really do need to be turned over. That patient is definitely in need of that service, and we're fighting for the patient.
Right.
So what ends up looking bad is not the insurance company. It ends up looking like the dentist doesn't know what he's talking about or she's talking about, because if the insurance companies are going to deny it, what's the cause? What's the doctor looking at? So I think the credibility of that doctor sometimes comes to play as well, when the patient looks and says, well, he says that I need it, the insurance says that I don't. Where's the truth here?
Right.
So I think that we confuse our patients as well. And those patients are so undereducated about what their oral health conditions are to begin with, it becomes really, really confusing. And the next thing that it leads to is, if I'm confused about making a decision, and it's about anything. It's about going to a restaurant and having too many things on the menu. It's about going to a car dealership and buying a car. If I have too many choices and I don't understand what they are, my human instinct is to say, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not going to make a decision about this. And it's causing our patients to make poor decisions about their short-term and long-term health care.
Right. That's going back to your note about we'll just say it plainly, doctors cheating the system.
Yeah. There are some, and we have to be frank about that. There are some.
There are some, and I've seen it. I mean, the whole case against Aspen Dental, which many are familiar with up in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if any of you have read just through the court documents, what you read is so appalling. It's like, are you kidding me? They're extracting teeth under perfectly healthy bone structure. Where the average dentist would say, well, that's the most aggressive form of dentistry, probably an unnecessary form of dentistry. Like I was speaking to Dr. Jelena Jessup, who is Dr. Dan Fisher's daughter at Ultradent, and she teaches and promotes the most conservative aspects of dentistry. And she is so surprised when she does her lectures all across the country, where she would get the opinion of doctors on certain types of decay, on certain teeth, and the recommendations that she would get were kind of alarming, according to her, that this is probably one of the causes as to why insurance carriers are on the defensive, is because you have a few doctors here that are trying to cheat and game the system, submitting, for instance, I've seen doctors submit a 3-surface composite as a 4-surface.
Yeah.
They perform a large composite and they bill it as a crown, and in situation where the clinical work doesn't align with CDT.
Sure.
But many are pushing the edge. I totally agree. That is one of the reasons why doctors are on the defensive insurance companies are on the defensive in terms of, seems like they're just punishing everybody, just going through a fine-tooth comb and adjudicating every single sentence, every single letter on the narrative and such. What about this whole trend of PPO participation? So in the last 10 years that I've been part of the industry, I think when I first started, I worked for a group practice in Arizona, and that group participated with everything under the sun: PPO, HMO, discount plans, Medicare, you name it, Medicaid, all the plans under the sun. The private practitioners that work for that, I noticed that they participated at their own offices with far fewer insurance plans, maybe 5 to 10 PPO plans, as opposed to the group practice. They're participating with over 40 third-party payers. The trend that I've been seeing is that more and more doctors are participating with more and more PPO plans. Is that what you're seeing as well?
I am, actually, and especially in the startup circuit. So, when it makes logical sense, right? I've got a graduate that maybe 3 years out, 4 years out, still paying off a tremendous amount of student debt in most cases. They're coming out with $500,000 worth of debt. They need to cover their cost of their debt service for opening a business or acquiring a business or whatever that is, plus pay off their student debt. And the mentality of most of them is, if I can get more people in the door, I can influence more decisions, I can do more dentistry. And I have been very, very successful in helping a lot of scratch startup practices with that mentality. And as they get to the place where they decide, am I going to be more cosmetic driven? Am I going to be more implant placed? Am I going to be more, they start to narrow that funnel where they can start extracting from some of the poorer payers, the ones with higher amounts of exclusions and difficulties working with, and really start focusing on the type of dentistry that they want to do in the areas that they want to do, where they're matching that demographic to their skill sets and their longer term goals as a practitioner. So I think that if you look at it as a pyramid type of a thing, Ben, where at the bottom of it, I can work with 40 different insurance companies. Maybe 2 years from now, I extract 5 or 6 of them where I'm only working with 30. And then, 5 years from now, I'm only working with the ones that are really melding with the philosophies of care that I have and the patient bases that I choose to deal with. But one of the nice things about getting those patients in, we know that the number one reason why patients choose a dentist right now is, do they accept my insurance?
Right.
Again, we've got to go back and we've got to educate these patients about, it's not just are we in network with your insurance, but that is what's going to be the trigger as to whether or not they go on and follow up in that conversation or even make that first visit to the patient or to the practice. If we can get that patient into the practice and hold them for 12 months or 18 months as an in-network insured, and then pull out of that network, we've had 18 months to be able to consolidate our philosophies and make them feel like they have made a good choice. So once we do go out of network with them, they say, you know what, it's worth it. I love this doctor. If I have to pay a little bit more, if I don't get the bells and whistles, it's still okay. I'm willing to do that because I found a practitioner that really cares for me and I trust.
Yeah.
And until we develop that trust and confidence, it's really, really difficult to get a really sound base of patients for a scratch startup. With that being said, though, we all know what the limitations of a PPO in-network relationship is. And it is limiting. It's limiting to what the doctor can do, when, how frequently, and the patient has to be entertained with that whole educational process too, through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think, Theresa, it's possible for a startup practice to not participate with PPOs in the beginning?
Absolutely. I have, and again, this is really interesting. I just wrote an article this morning, as a matter of fact, about the Scratch startup process. And what is really interesting is I think that you need to identify what that patient base is that you want to solicit. I have right now a boutique practice down in the near north in Chicago that absolutely did not want to entertain any PPOs. So she understood that her growth was going to be a little bit longer. But what happens is she sees fewer patients, but she sees a higher quality patient. The retention is higher. The acceptance rate is higher. The financial availability of funds to get the dentistry is more. So her choice was to have a boutique-y type practice, seeing fewer patients, higher quality patients, and knowing that it was going to take longer to build her practice than influencing with lots of PPO practice patients and knowing that over time she was going to atrophy that base because it wasn't her target audience.
Right. Takes time to build, but it's definitely possible.
It does. So,
yeah.
Pardon me.
Oh, no, you go first.
No, it just takes, and again, you can't just say one size fits all in this whole dilemma of is it right, wrong, best, worst. You have to take in all the factors. If I have a young graduate that needs that stream of income to be able to pay off debt service, he or she is either going to have to associate somewhere else to take care of that debt load while they grow their business, or they're going to have to grow their business faster.
Yeah, and I've seen it done. I've seen several. I'm thinking of two doctors I know of right now that both practice in areas where there's several other doctors that are heavy into the PPO, and it took them several years, but the quality of patient that comes in, as well as the financials that they see. They see half the patient load for the same revenue that a PPO practice where they're seeing double the patient load. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Sure. And to them, it was a sacrifice over time. Just sticking to your guns and getting really good coaching is what I've learned. And that's an area that you focus on a lot more than I do. As a matter of fact, I don't focus on any of that. but let's talk about, and I think this might be good for some of the listeners, because many of our listeners are really trying to figure out ways to be more efficient with PPOs. And I've been telling doctors, you got to consider dropping more PPO plans.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't give them the power. I'm headed up to Logan, Utah, northern Utah, and there's a specific insurance carrier there. 9 years ago, when I started working with doctors up in Logan, this insurance plan was insignificant. They were nothing. Maybe 2 doctors were participating with the plan. Now, nearly 90, if I were to guess, maybe 99% of the doctors are participating with this plan. What has happened is they've now been able to secure contract with the school district, with the larger employers in the area. And the reason why is because their fees are lower, their premiums are lower, and the doctors are participating. When you participate with an insurance plan, essentially what you're doing is you're endorsing everything that they do. You're endorsing their fees, you're giving them power and leverage to sell their plan to employer groups. So I'm going up there to figure out a way to legally tell them, y'all need to get off of this plan. The reason why you're at where you're at today is because you've all endorsed them, and you got to reverse that.
Well, you're absolutely right. And when we talk to prospective network participants as doctors, the correlation between the fees and the subscribers are huge. The lower fees have the highest subscribers, the higher fees have the lower subscribers. So when you're looking to make a decision on what PPO plan you're going to go with, and we have the same thing in the Chicago metro area, there is an insurance company that reimburses at an average of 47%. Wow. And they have the hugest subscriber base in the Chicagoland area.
Wow.
Now, I don't know. 47% on my dollar is probably not going to be enough to make me as a practitioner say I'm going to participate in this group.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did the CQI meetings with our local UDA, Utah Dental Association, this fall. And I learned that the ADA, or I heard about this report that it was either the ADA or somebody that the ADA affiliates with, did some research about PPO reimbursement rates versus the number of participating dentists in any given state. And the interesting thing that we learned from this study is that there's a direct correlation to the rate reductions in states compared to the number of doctors that participate with a certain insurance plan.
Sure.
For instance, you look up in Washington, I think Illinois is another good example. You have the vast majority of the doctors there participate with Delta. And up in the state of Washington back in 2011, when they slashed rates by 15%, there really wasn't a whole lot the doctors could do. You know, the power was reversed. Right now, kind of seeing the entire effects of participation back in September when the Delta Dental member dentists in Washington signed a petition to force Delta to provide more compensation for care, to provide more resources towards patient care, all these different measures in an effort to benefit the patient. Guess what? I don't know if you heard about it, but you want to take a guess at what Delta Washington did?
Yeah, exactly,
right?
They said, not necessarily in favor.
They said take a hike. They then eliminated the annual meeting where members get to meet and vote on bylaw changes.
Sure.
They also eliminated the committee that focuses on that. So they basically said, you know what, we're not going to do that.
Took away all the democratic rights.
But since 2011, this is the thing that really ticks off a lot of the doctors. Since 2011, the CEO's payment compensation doubled.
Yeah,
I think it was $1.5 million to $3 million over that period. You know, and you talk about an entity that really doesn't have any regulation, or at least nobody's figured out what regulatory body needs to govern Delta Dental. I'm actually after you and I are chatting today, I'm out on the phone with several attorneys, and we're talking to some federal groups to find out who governs Delta, who governs the federally regulated plans like Blue Cross Federal or GEHA that says we don't have to follow state non-covered service laws.
The rest of you do, but not us, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're in the process of resolving those things and sending the messages to all the associations to help doctors become more efficient.
Well, hooray for you! We'll stand on the sidelines and cheer for you, Ben.
No, thank you. And So what I want to lead to in the next part of our discussion is we're talking about this whole problem with PPO participation. Now there's a trend of more doctors leaving networks and leaving networks carefully. Can you walk us through how that might be possible for some?
You know what? There's a couple of things that I want to share with you and the listeners. The number one thing is that we want to retain those patients in the practice, and we really want to give that message that we care, because that's what those doctors are doing. They're diagnosing, they're clinically assessing the oral health of these patients, and we really want to put a line between what the doctor as the clinician is saying and what the insurance company as a stock holding business is saying. So once we have that patient in our practice, and I want to share that I have been, and I'm sure there's other consultants as well, Ben, that you talk to, have been really pushing the membership plans in dental practices.
Yes. Membership
plans. It is phenomenal. We are getting patients to understand, and it takes a little bit of time, but time is worth it in the long run. Sharing with these patients that just like Costco or Lifetime Fitness or whatever it is, you become a member in our office, you get whatever their plan is going to be, and that's all designed by the demographics and the how many practitioners there are and all of those things that are tangible and intangible in the office. But what happens is in their insurance plans, they got a reduction of fee because they were in network or whatever that looked like. We will give them a reduction of fees off the UCR fees in the practice. They get a whatever that goes along with this. But then we take out all of the stipulations in the insurance companies. There's no pre-existing. There's no non-elective service. There's no missing tooth clause. There's no capitation and maximums or anything along those lines. The care that you're going to get is the diagnostic, clinically assessed care that you need, but we're still going to help you by making it affordable with our membership plan.
Yeah.
I think that if we really are righteous in giving care, we're gonna wag our tail at some of these insurance companies and say we've got a better way. And it needs to be broadcast. It needs to be on websites. It needs to be on social media. It needs to be where people can see it and make decisions and say, this is a better choice for me. And honestly, it works out to be better. When we look at somebody that is paying premiums for dental insurance with all of the stipulations on it, and just for argument's sake, Ben, if you're paying $50 a month for your dental insurance on a 12-month period, you're paying $600 just in premiums. Then you're paying your deductible. Then you're paying, whatever your co-pays are at the time of service. Self-insuring, as it turns out to be, is a way better way to go financially for most patients.
I agree. We did we did a study on this back in the early I think it was 2010 and 11. We gathered data from an insurance company that we promised to not disclose who they are, but they were willing to open their books. And we signed agreements to not, we can talk about the results, but we just didn't want to talk about them in particular because they weren't happy with the results. Essentially, what we found is that over a 5-year period, a patient would save 20% if they paid the doctor's cash fee for the same number of procedures that they received in that 5-year period over dental insurance.
Sure.
When you add the premium, the deductible, everything that you mentioned, the over maxes and all of that, it was 20% cheaper to pay for those procedures in cash. And then our 10-year study is going to come out here in the next couple of years. But essentially, that supports your message from a statistical perspective is that it's much cheaper to self-insure than it is to pay for a dental insurance. And that's one of the reasons why Jordan and I created this podcast is because he and I have both built in-house membership programs. I mean, for the group practice I worked at, we did $50 million in revenue a year. A quarter of that came from our in-house membership program. And a couple of weeks ago, we had Kiara Dent on the podcast. She took a dental practice in Colorado from $500,000 to $2 million in revenue.
Yeah.
In 9 months, building a membership program. I mean,
it's phenomenal. I have a practice that I just started this plan with in January of last year. They had they put on 320 member plans in 1 year to this program.
Wow.
And they're loving it. So the other thing that I think is a beauty is, to think about the man hours that we spend administratively doing insurance, just doing insurance, right?
Exactly.
Submitting the claims, making sure that, that everything matches, going to some of them are sending them back in EOB. Some of them are sending them in bulk. Some of them you have to go to the website and download. Then we have to send in, remarks. We have to send in a narrative. We have to send attachments. All of those man hours go away.
Right.
It doesn't matter because we don't have to involve the insurance company with all of the administrative work that goes along with being administratively shackled.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% my experience too. You can spend a lot more time and resources on other things as opposed to fighting that denied claim and
exactly. And it always makes the office look bad. It never makes the insurance company look bad. Yeah.
That's so frustrating.
And we don't need that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that would be my number one thing if we could, wave the magic wand and say, how do we get out of this nightmare that we've created and make it better for our patients? And that's what we're all doing. That's what you're doing, Ben. That's what I'm doing. How do we make that patient experience better? How do we get that patient to optimal oral health care? We all have our role in that. And if we could do this better, I think that every one of our patients that we serve would be better for it.
Absolutely. It sounds like you know your stuff, Theresa, which is no surprise just with the feedback that we've heard about you from the various different colleagues that we both have in common. If a doctor wants to reach out to you and has any question about some of the things that we talked about today, can they do that?
Oh, please. Absolutely. Again, we're all here to serve, and I really do believe that. If I can make somebody else's life happier and easier and more successful, and we all have that personal success level in our hearts, I'm more than happy to. And, it's really easy to know, as long as you know what my last name is. It's Theresa.Narantic at speaker.dental. Really easy. No .com, no .net, .dental. So
that's
and I'm more than happy to set up a time to speak with anybody that would have questions, and happy to do it.
That's awesome. So that's pretty easy. We'll post that on our website, both in the show notes on iTunes as well as SoundCloud. And if you're on our website, sayno2ppos.com, and you click play on that link there, just check the show notes and you'll see Theresa's contact information there. Theresa, do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners about anything we spoke about, or anything in particular you think is of importance to the dentist these days?
I do. And right on the insurance topic is the reason that I didn't go into nursing, as I said earlier in our conversation, Ben, was because I didn't like the direction. And I thought of my parents at that time. I graduating from college and stuff, and I thought, they're going to be old someday. And I don't want somebody else making a decision for them based on what the insurance is going to cover. I hated that thought.
Yeah.
And I brought that into the dental industry with me as well. I don't think that anyone as a patient, you as a patient, me as a patient, my dad as a patient, should be forced into making a decision about their oral health care that is not in their best interest. And until we get the education out there to our patients where they understand that they have a choice to make, we have not done our job. So as a community, as an industry, we need to get that message out there that there is a choice to be made. And there are some really, really good choices, and they're not always in network insurance.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We should all go in and put up billboards that says dental insurance in network doesn't equate to best care. Listen to your dentist. Don't let the insurance companies drive your decisions about what you should get and what you shouldn't. Which is the poisonous insurance-driven mentality that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But one of the things that I've heard about you in your lectures is that you're so great at creating a culture and a training process to help all team members within the office exit that insurance mentality and help patients understand first and foremost about what they need from a health perspective that actually converts into care, patients moving forward with treatment, which I think is a powerful thing that everybody needs. Our listeners and those that don't yet listen to our program, is they struggle with getting patients to move forward with care. I was just on the phone with another doctor before you and I spoke, and he just mentioned, I don't know how to get these patients to move forward with treatment. And it always boils down to the fact, after you ask them so many questions, what was the concern? And the concern was insurance. The concern was, that we have this insurance ahead of us. They want to wait till next year, or they want to piecemeal things as they go and let insurance dictate and drive their health outcomes, which is wrong,
It is. And the biggest thing that I work with dental teams on is overcoming that. We'll always find what shiny object we want to look at. And it's very hard to take our gaze off of that. So what has helped the teams that I work with is building the value. Because as you know, Ben, you are going to buy something that you want. Right. You're not necessarily going to buy what you need, right? So if I build the value of long-term oral health, systemic health, if I put my doctor as an oral care physician, I would never think of going to a cardiologist and saying, hey, you know what, can we hold off on that whatever procedure until after the first of the year? Because, my insurance will cover it then. We have got to help our teams know that the larger, bigger, stronger value statement that we make, the more understanding that patient's going to have of the consequence of either choice or no choice. They've got to want to buy what it is. And we've got to shift that mentality as well. It's the whole shift of the insurance driven and replacing it with value. I'm not a shark. I am not going to get, 16 replacements of the dentition that I have. What I have right now is as good as it's going to be. Oh, and I'm going to throw this out to you too. I share this with dental teams all the time. Our oral cavity is the only place in our body that if there is infection or something broken, it won't over time fix itself. So if I have an abrasion on my arm, I can put an antibiotic on it, and over time it's going to get better. If I, have any other healthcare condition with proper care and medication, it's going to get better. If I have a carie in my tooth, or if I have periodontal disease, it is not going to get better.
Yeah.
There's no way that we can get that condition better without treating it. And the oral cavity is the only place in our body that holds true. So we've got to make that message to our patients that you only get one crack at this, right? When you lose that tooth, it's something that is, can it be fixed? Can we put an implant in? Absolutely. But we need to take care of what we have right now. We need to really increase the value of the conversations that we're having with those patients so that they get it.
Yeah, that is, to me, that's something that's I believe is often overlooked. When we talk about getting off of PPOs, building in-house membership plans, applying real effective billing techniques and areas to help reduce those write-offs in the practice, to me, what you just mentioned is one of the key components into accomplishing what we need to become less dependent on insurance.
Absolutely.
It's the value.
Absolutely.
So.
But it takes work. It really takes work. And that's one of my focuses. When we change the way people think, we change the outcomes.
Absolutely. I like that. I really like that. So you're speaking at the Academy of Dental Office Managers in 2018, is that right?
I am. How fun is that?
Yeah,
right?
That's exciting.
What a great a crowd. These women and men that are running dental practices and really have their shoulders to the grindstone are the ones that are making the difference in the industries right now. So I think that it's a great audience to be able to share this information with.
We're going to be bringing a group of office managers from Utah. We're rallying them up.
Hooray!
The local
Hooray,
chapter
our
here.
Utah friends.
Yep. We're gonna come and crash the party on July 19th,
nice.
And then as well as so for those of you that don't know, Theresa is a speaker. So if you do have a study club or if you have a convention coming up, I highly recommend that you get a hold of her. As you've listened on this podcast, she's very, very a great speaker when it comes to anything in the dental field, but especially these topics about insurance, she knows very well. She's been around the block, so I highly recommend her. And I was looking up your information. So there's a shorter way to finding your website that I just found. Speaker.dental. Is that it, Theresa?
That's my URL, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's right.
So if you just go to speaker.dental, that'll take you straight to her website. You can find out more about her there. You can find her phone number as well. But we're going to post all these notes about how to contact Theresa on the show notes, as well as a description of what we talked about. But Theresa, thank you so much for being with us today. Your knowledge has just been an invaluable resource to the listeners. And on behalf of Jordan and everybody that listens to this program, thank you so much.
Ben, it's been a pleasure. I really have enjoyed our time together. I'm sorry Jordan couldn't be with us today, and I feel bad that he is where he is, but I do appreciate our time today together. I really do.
I can predict that we're going to have you back here real soon.
Can't wait. It's been my pleasure. So anytime at all, and if there's any of the listeners that I can help in particular instead of just in generalities, I'm more than happy to. Appreciate your time today, Ben.
Thank you, folks. This is Theresa Narantic.